Welcome to Getting Film Buff. I'm your host, Sean Bradford. This is a podcast for film buffs, nerds, and makers alike. Joining me today is Carson B. screenwriter, director, and well-rounded filmmaker. Carson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Any expectations going into this, or just happy to be here?
Just chatting, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on anything, but I have some experience.
That's okay.
You know? Yeah.
You ready to just hop right into it then?
I'd love to.
Awesome. So, Carson, during college, you had the opportunity to work as a content team assistant for Johnson Hanson at BYU TV, where you were able to gain experience, which you said has, in a sense, jump-started your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
What tools did that job give you, which has aided in your filmmaking since then?
A lot. I actually worked with Johnson Hanson. Sorry, I heard Johnson Hanson. Did you mention him? Do you know him?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. No, he's a good guy. I worked with him. But yeah, it's been a while since I talked to him, since I graduated. It was awesome. It was really cool because I got the jobs since I very first got to BYU Provo. And it was really cool at the time. I think they weren't really sure what they wanted out of the position and everything, but I got to work directly under the producers on that are at BYU TV. So, I got the chance to just look at every pitch that would come into BYU TV, and see what kind of things, look impressive to people that are looking to purchase shows,
right,
and develop shows and everything. That was super helpful for me. It's interesting just because I got to see how people just throw anything at the wall. Mm-hmm. The least BYU TV kind of idea. They're might as well send it to them.
Right.
But yeah, I also got to, read a lot of the screenplays for shows that were being made. There was a pretty big push for a little bit more scripted content, mm-hmm. and even a couple features. So getting to read those and give a little bit of input and hear a little bit more about what the producers want out of that was also just oh, that's super good to know.
Yeah.
And then in a more practical sense, since graduating, the jobs that I have been able to get with freelance stuff have come from the producers I've worked on.
Oh, great.
So that's always the biggest thing. It's cool if you can learn good things, but it doesn't matter if you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Networking in that sense has just been awesome for me.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And networking is a huge part of filmmaking, just if you want to work on even projects for free, like what I've done with you on the music video that we worked on.
Yeah.
And that being an integral part of being an independent filmmaker, you build this network with people that you either go to class with or that you work on just different projects with, that you meet along the way. And you help them out, they help you out, that goes back and forth. So I'm curious, what are some of those on-set hilarious moments which occur based on your network? Because a lot of times you work with these people a lot and they become your friends.
Yeah.
So what are some of those, basically friends hanging out moments that happen on set?
I will say this. Getting to work on that music video was the most fun I've ever had on set.
Really?
Just because the guys that we were working with and stuff are just such fun people.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Anytime there's any kind of a break, they're just immediately cracking jokes or dancing. Or, that was just a blast. In terms of other funny moments, I don't know. The only one that comes to my mind right now is I was working on a film set as a assistant to the camera in AC.
Uh-huh.
And I was friends with the guy that was gaffing, and we were filming out in this like field by the lake, you know, and it was supposed to be like this dream-like, beautiful kind of romantic scene. Mm-hmm. And our job was to like, I don't know, since we were filming outside, like and the camera wasn't moving too much, neither of us had too much to do. Uh-huh. So they're like, hey, if you guys can you like spread the little, like bits of weed or whatever it is that's coming from the grass area, you know, just to make it look a little bit more dreamy, you know? And like, no matter where we were, it's just like, it always kept like blowing back at us. And I'm known for being like loud and especially laughing a lot and laughing loud. So like everything we were trying, I was just like getting more frustrated, and like my friend, the gaffer, is like laughing at me, and I'm like, okay, I can figure this out. And like, so I was like, okay, we need bigger chunks until like I got a piece of this, like the weedy part of the grass. And it was just way too big, and it landed like right on the face of the actor as he's like lying down. He's like, and like the camera's still rolling, you know? So I'm like, this is funny, and I'm going to try not to laugh at like that. Like I ruined the take, you know? Yeah, but I was trying my best. Anyway, and then we got a good laugh of it. And like there was all the BTS people I found out afterward were like filming me and him trying not to laugh and trying to help. Like,
do you have that footage or any of those pictures?
Yeah, I'd have to find it.
Good.
It's been a while.
Good. I'm sure those are like memories that you just look back on.
It was a hilarious fail, you know, but like it was a lot of fun, and I was with a lot of people that were just like really good people.
Right.
So yeah, like you said, it's you work with people so much that like you kind of have no choice but to become friends with them.
Yeah,
you know, and then when you are friends and it's like a lighter atmosphere, it's way more fun.
Right.
You know? So.
Yeah, totally. And that sense of lightheartedness, that sense of like, oh, this is funny, this is fun, I feel like that carries over into one of the videos that's on your channel, Final Showdown, which...
Oh my gosh, you watched.
Oh yeah. It's
like
also in your screenplay, or at least the one that's on your website, Cooley's Way.
You read that?
Oh yeah.
Oh dude. You're a savant. You've been doing your research. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You show a sense of humor that's both planned out and spontaneous. Spontaneity being shown in Final Showdown with you. I'm going to assume, and I was pretty confident in saying this, that person that you high-five at the end of the video was not planned. No. Not at all. And I could tell immediately, and that made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
So, are there certain comedy films which inspire the way that you write comedy? Or do comedy?
Oh, good question. I will say this. I think as far as comedy goes, that's something that I want to do. I want to focus on a lot more. Mm-hmm. I think I've done a lot of like dramedy, worked on at least like a couple of horrors and stuff. But just like comedy is so difficult on film, at least, because like it's not very funny in like it can be on set, it can be very funny, but if you have to do the take like 30 times, it's
not funny anymore.
The humor is completely sucked out of the situation. So having a good actor and stuff that can make it funny even on the 40th take is like
crucial
gold, you know, like that's amazing. As far as comedy of like what's influenced me, I really don't know. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think when something's just unexpected, and if there's just a character that just does something really random, to me that's usually very funny. Or just something unexpected.
A wild card.
Yeah, a wild card, dude. If you have a wild card in the room, it's just like that. That's always interesting.
Right.
You know? The funny thing about the Final Showdown, that was a camera test that our teacher was like, hey, you guys have 30 minutes, film whatever.
That's
Go
amazing.
Practice with the camera. Your topic is, I don't know, rock, paper, scissors. So me and the guy, it was Devin, I think. We just like get outside with this camera that we don't know how to use, and we're like, okay, I guess we can try doing this, you know? And you're absolutely right that like that high five was random. that poor girl looked terrified when I high-fived her. And I don't blame her. I didn't think about this till afterward. It's like a man running full speed behind her, popping up and then being like, hey, high-five me, and then running off is terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That was fun. And I think there's also something to be said for like improving situations.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think of Parks and Rec, and what I've heard about Parks and Rec is that they do the first 2 takes scripted just by the book, and then the third take they just are like, actors go crazy.
Let loose,
and that's where you get the Chris Pratt moments, which live on the internet. You know, and going back to, you said that you have done a lot of like drama, a lot of things in that nature. That definitely applies when it comes to probably, you would say, your most successful project. Give Me a Moment, which is a festival-winning short, which you directed. Yeah. Could you explain the intricacies of doing a one take and how, in that context, in that story, it aided the story that you were trying to tell?
Yeah, that one was interesting. I had just taken a class, and like we can talk a little bit more about this assignment later, but one of the short films, the requirement was that it has to be all one long take.
Gotcha.
And I think doing that assignment changed my whole perspective on making films and the kind of films that I like to make.
Okay.
So the idea that I had in my whole blueprint for that short film, for that assignment, was we just slowly pushing on this character as her boyfriend's revealing something and she's responding to it. And again, this has nothing to do with that short film, but it inspired it a lot.
Right.
In this assignment, that was my plan. And the night before shooting, my teacher, who had read the plan, was like, this isn't going to work. It needs to be more fluid. There needs to be more action, different setups in this one take, and he's like, and I get what you're wanting to do with the slow push in, but like, this is kind of the time to experiment with everything else.
Right.
And I ended up being so grateful that he said that. At the time, I was like, well, frick, because I'm filming this tomorrow morning, and like, I have to rearrange everything. I need to like talk to my DP about getting completely different equipment, everything. So, we ended up doing something that was, way more intricate movement, and like, we're panning, we're running around, we're pushing in on people, and then tilting up and doing all the things. So what I found on set, it was just like the amount of synergy that has to be there with everyone on the crew and stuff is just like such a wonderful energy. And because everybody, that's the difference between like doing a bunch of different like camera setups versus one long take, is everybody has a job and everybody wants so hard for it to work out. So everyone's really invested in the shot. Right. And it's all, and that sounds like intense and scary, but it's so much more fun. Because at the end of the day, you do get that one shot where the director, in this case me, I was like, yeah, I think we got it. And everyone's cheering, everyone's happy. And the same thing happened on the music video, right? Everyone literally starts clapping, and it's like, you don't really, it's a different energy than like normal camera setups.
No, totally.
So going back to that short film, sorry, there's a bit of a tangent, but I knew working with the writer, I was like, I want this to be one long take. Like, that you can do whatever you want with that, but I want it to be able to just shoot everything, like in one fluid take. So, it was so much fun because we didn't have to try to like tailor this big story to fit in one moment. We picked a moment, and we kind of
made it a big story,
that, and we made that the story.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, that was a lot of fun. And then we get there, and like that was crazy because the key that we were given to that restaurant actually ended up breaking in the door handle. So we got there at 5 a.m. because we wanted to shoot everything before they opened, and we didn't start shooting till like 9:30 a.m.
What time did they open?
And they opened at like I think noon. So we got we got like half the time to work and everything that I wanted, I guess.
Right.
You know. So but we got it, and like for some reason it was when you're forced into a situation, there's no more like, well, dang, I guess I don't know, we can't do it. It's just like you got to make it work,
right?
You know,
Yeah.
and we just made it work,
Yeah.
and that's kind of another one of the beauties about doing long takes is like if it's too complicated, you can simplify it in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you don't have to think of continuity nearly as much, or like will we capture this subtle cue from this actor? It's just like you gotta.
Let's just
You're
go.
locked in,
Yeah.
you know, and like if all of a sudden, we can't swing around and do the sweeping pan that we wanted, it's like, hey, that's fine. We can just focus on that actor.
Right.
Take out all the complicated nature of it all. So, yeah, I think I went way off on that question.
No. That was great. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And like when it won, what was that feeling like?
Dude, that was crazy. It was so fun because the previous year or two before that, my good friend had won everything before. He just swept everything always.
Wow.
And I think even this last year he swept everything, James. And I knew that he was like entering it again the year that I was directing. And it was the only year I'd ever directed anything for that festival. And like, so I knew he was going to be submitting. I was like, well, guess we're not going to win anything.
Right.
That's fine. I'm excited to see his film because it'll be beautiful. It'll be moving. I'll probably be crying by the end because that's what happens with his films.
Right.
But yeah, then we ended up winning almost everything, and it felt really surreal. And I was really happy that I was like, hey, we won one thing. I'm happy. You know, if anything else happens, then like, that'll just be icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But it's not needed. I don't even need to win one award. I just like want to feel proud of it.
Right.
You know?
I want to make films for the sake of making films.
Yeah.
Not to win awards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. There was something that just felt so amazing about like seeing my team, because my screenwriter ended up winning. And our producer is the one that like accepted the award for best overall. And it was so fun to be with them in that moment and just feel like we did this as a team.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was also like this vision that I had since the beginning. It worked. It was effective. It wasn't just in my head.
Right.
You know, it was like, okay, this is proof that I have that like
It's
I'm
validating.
good at this, you know?
Validating. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So it felt amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
And when it comes to the screenplay itself, I know that you didn't write it for Give Me a Moment, but I also know that screenwriting is still a passion of yours.
Yeah.
And like included in that is the reading of screenplays of different films for fun.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to a screenplay, what makes a good screenplay?
Dude, you know what this is another patented Carson hot take here.
Okay.
I think what makes a screenplay good is if you read it and it's good.
I don't think that's a hot take.
The thing is, you know, going to film school, they'll teach you this is how to write a screenplay. You need this, and you need the inciting incident, the rising action, climax, and stuff. And I think those are all very good foundations.
Totally.
I don't think a beginning writer should ever think like, I don't want to do that. You know, like I think you need to have a very good grasp of the rules before you try to break the rules.
Right.
But like my favorite films, like, don't follow the narrative structures, but there is a narrative there. There's something powerful there. And one of my favorite directors, Wong Kar-wai, he doesn't even use screenplays. Like that's just not what he does. That's not his style. So when you watch his films, it does feel just like everything's just so free flowing, and it's so refreshing to me to just be able to see like these actors doing their thing in this beautiful location that's in the dungiest little underground basement, you know, but it's gorgeous the way that it's shot and acted and everything. It's so unique. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to nail down like any specific thing. Like, yeah, you don't need to follow the blueprint, but you do need to do this. It's just like, I think that's why I said like, what makes it good is if you read it and it's good.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I think that's the most powerful thing is if you give it to people and they read it and they're invested in it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're crying or they're laughing or they're moved by it.
Yeah.
You know, they want to get behind it and like support you when you make it.
Totally.
So it's a super vague answer. And I really can't emphasize enough. Like it is very important to know the structure of like what makes a good story.
You gotta have that base.
Yeah. But you got to know the rules before you break the rules.
Right.
You know?
Totally.
So
that makes perfect sense.
those are my thoughts on it.
Where do your ideas for screenplays come from?
Everywhere. I have a list on my phone that's just like if I observe something interesting or like an interesting character or just have an interesting thought, I'll just quickly jot it down on that app. And like I can, if you're like, hey, come up with a good idea, then I'll freeze there and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm not even creative. I can't think you know, but like, then I'll just like, if something's not working for me, I'll go back to that list and it doesn't even need to be a full like plot line story. It's just like, here's an interesting character who's got a weird name, you know, and I'll write down the name and I'll be like, hey, that character immediately comes to mind just because of the name, you know? And so if I'm running out of ideas or I want another idea for a story, I'll go back to that and I'll end up combining 20 different ideas into one thing that's just fun, you know? And like, I'm not good at just like thinking on the spot of stuff, but
I don't think most people are. Because I know I am. It's like, especially with coming up with good creative ideas, just like go.
Yeah.
You know, like that's really hard to do.
yeah.
I feel like it's in a sense similar to improv comedy because like to be able to do that is just, it's a talent.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I envy those people that can do that. Yeah. I'm like, dang, I wish I could do it. Sometimes I'll have a good one-liner.
Yeah.
But like I can't stand on stage.
Yeah, can't just consistently do that.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And when it comes to screenplays and when it comes to films in general, leading up to the interview, I asked you what part of film you scrutinize most, and you responded, and I quote, this is how I'm going to say it because you typed it out, but I'm going to say it this way, okay? Vibes. So, I'm curious, how does a film's vibe get established? And in your opinion, which filmmakers do you feel like succeed in this the most?
That's such a good question. It's interesting because when it's a really good film, I'll think about it less as like a film. It's just like this experience that I'm having watching it.
Right.
When it's a bad film, it also helps to know a lot about film because then I can look really close and be like, hey, that's a good thing that they did in there. In this thing that I'm not enjoying, but like, dang, that light on that person looks really nice.
You can see what works and what didn't.
Yeah, the color design is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know? And I can see what they're going for here, and like it's not working, and I can think about, oh, why is that not working and everything. But I think the reason that I said like vibes is because I think I love the films that can just take me to another place and like make me forget that I'm actually watching something. I think I actually don't know if I said his name, but Wong Kar-wai was the director that I'm referring to before. But like, dude, I watched his films and it like, I watched In the Mood for Love, which is like his most famous movie, and it's amazing. It's wonderful. And I'm like, oh, it was cool. And then his films were all showing at a theater for a week when I was on a study abroad, and I was like, yeah, sure. Like I'm not expecting much, but then I watched his films and it was just like, there's not really a plot line. There kind of is, but it's so loose. But like this vibe is just so sick. Like I can just feel myself like rooting for these characters and laughing at the weird things that they say with the most straight faces you've ever seen, you know, and like the crazy interactions between everyone. But there's also so many other films with such different vibes. You know, I just watched Children of Men a few weeks ago for the first time. I think I mentioned that on set when we were shooting, but like completely different vibe. But I was just absorbed. I couldn't think about anything other than like what was on the screen.
Right.
It was like so intense and so beautiful and so human and so grounded, which is a completely different feeling from like, I don't know, a movie like Barbie, which to me is also a wonderful film.
Right.
You know, and like the vibe of that one is also totally different. It feels like Wizard of Oz to me, which is like so fun and so unique. So, all those films are so good to me in such different ways, but the one like common denominator is that I watch it and I forget about everything and I'm just watching this and I'm loving it.
Right.
You know?
That's the key indicator of like whether or not a film is good. It's not like
you're
not thinking about anything else. You're just absorbed with this film and you're just invested in the characters. You're invested in the story. You're invested
for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not every film was designed to be like that. Some of them are meant to be like, hey, you gotta think back, take a look in yourself and see if this jives with you or not, you know? So that's just like what I love in film. That's what I want every film I make to be like. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of leads right into the last question I have here. For every filmmaker has something that they aspire to, a dream project to work on. What types of projects do you desperately want to work on in your career as a filmmaker?
I just want to make, I don't care what genre it is, but I want to make something that's good. I think right now I've been working on the script, which I guess you read a little bit of, Cooley's Way, which I love, and I know it's not for everyone, but like that's the one thing that I'm focused on like right now. Like I want to make this thing happen, you know, and even if it's like I don't end up directing it or like it doesn't end up getting made. I mean, I really do want it to get made, but I want people to read this and feel like this is unique and it's heartwarming. It's spoken to me, you know? As far as like career goals, I don't know. I want to be able to make a living doing what I love.
That's valid.
Mostly just do what I love.
Yeah.
You know? I think I would love if this is so much further down the road and like I don't know too much about it, but like writing for video games. I think video games have a really unique thing to offer as far as storytelling goes. So, and I think there are a couple of video games that have done very well with that storytelling.
Right.
But I think there's so much more room for like a really beautiful story in video games. So, and
that is the direction they're going for sure.
Yeah, which is so good to see. But yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, that stuff's further down the line. And when I went to film school, I was like, well, I don't know how to make a video game, though. You know, like it's something that I'd love to do, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
That's so cool. Carson, thank you for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any last thoughts, anything that you want to shout out while you're here, or?
Shout outs to my family. Shout outs to my fiance. I just got engaged, so that's pretty cool. Shout outs to the homies that I always make films with. So, yeah. That's about it.
Nice.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for everybody for listening. Have an awesome rest of your day. Peace.